Now I'll make some pins for those joints. I'm going to start out with some Douglas fir. It's from the same plank that I made the rail out of. And this looks like sapwood, so I'm not going to make my pins there. It's not as decay resistant as the heartwood over here, which has about 30 to 40 growth rings per inch, so it should be pretty decay resistant. I'm using a wooden mallet and my sharp chisel. I'll just begin by splitting off that sapwood. And I'll split off a little piece. And my pins are going to be about 3/16 of an inch in diameter. So I'll just split off 3 or 4 little slabs that are about 3/16 of an inch. I'm just eyeballing this. I could measure it. So there's 3 little slabs that I've split off. And I'll just set those back down on the bench and just split them the other way. Just repack them, pack them back in together, and split off a little waste. So by packing these back in against the piece of wood, it helps hold them. So there's a nice little set of pins that are square in section. I'll just trim off those edges so it goes into the round hole a little better, but I won't make them perfectly round. To do that, I'll just use my bench hook, which has a piece of wood and a board and another piece of wood, and the hook fits over the edge of my bench right here. Just gives me a sturdy, stable place to work. So I'll just take the pin and just trim off that arris right there. An edge like this is in geometry is sometimes called an arris, A-R-R-I-S. So I'll trim that off. And just give a little bit of trimming on it to give it sort of a point. I don't want it too pointy, but just so it eases into the hole nice. So there's one. See, this one looks a little big, so I'll do this one. Looks a little wide on that side, so I'll trim it down a bit. So you can see one end is just slightly pointed and roundish, and the other end I've left square so it'll act kind of like a head and bind into the round hole, and that'll help hold it in place. Now I've set up the sash with some clamps to draw the joint together. It doesn't take much pressure, but I like it nice and snug before I drill the hole and set the wooden pins. So just as a final check on squareness, I've got my carpenter's square handy. And I'll just set that on this inner edge of the sash just to check squareness. It's nice and square. If it weren't square, I would pull it from this corner over to that one, or from that corner over to that one, out of the parallelogram it's in, until it's nice and square. But it's good now. So the next step is to lay out where I'm going to drill the hole. I want to have the hole over here close to this inner corner, because I know that this piece of wood is going to expand and shrink with changes in moisture content, and the wood in the rail will do the same thing, expand and shrink. And I want to hold the joint tight over here in the corner, because that's where the glass and the putty and paint will be, and I don't want that to get stressed by this movement of the wood. So I'll put it near the corner, and I like to go by the quarters when I place these pins in sash. So going across here, I figure there's half and there's a quarter. And going across here, here's half and here's a quarter. So I'll drill my hole for the pin right there. Now I've got my drill set up with a 3/16 inch bit, and I've put a stop collar on it that's held in place with a set screw. And I've set that to just 1/8 inch shy of the thickness of the rail over here, so that it won't drill all the way through. I always set my sash pins from the interior side, because if they go through to the exterior, it can let moisture in if the paint or putty that fills it fails. So just to keep the weather envelope on the outside of the sash intact, I drill the hole from the inside. So pretty straightforward. Just drill the hole. Okay, and then I can set the pin. Now the pin might be a little thicker this way than this way, so I always put the thicker dimension in line with the grain. If I put it across the grain, it might tend to split the wood here at the surface. So I'm going to put this longer dimension with the grain. And then just tap it in place with a hammer. So that's pretty good. Just one more to do at the mutton bar joint, and another one over at the stile and rail joint over on the other side. So when I get that done, the rail renewal is complete.